I never thought I'd walk into my own house and feel like a stranger. But that's exactly what happened the night my family decided to throw a Thanksgiving party without me. Yes, you heard that right. In my own house. Without me. And as if I didn't even exist. And the craziest part, they looked me dead in the eyes afterward and acted like I was the one being dramatic, the one overreacting, the one who should relax, because it's just a little gathering. Tell me this, if your own family used your home, your kitchen, your food, your bills, your furniture, your space, and didn't even bother to invite you, would you stay calm? Would you stay quiet? Would you let it go? Or would you do exactly what I did and make them regret it big time? Because honestly, others still don't know if I went too far or if I simply reacted like any sane person would. That night changed everything for me. And sometimes I replay it in my head wondering if there was any universe where I would have reacted differently. But before I get into the chaos that followed, let me ask you directly, was I wrong? And what would you have done if you were in my place? Because this wasn't just about a party. This was about disrespect, about betrayal, about being treated like a doormat by the very people who were supposed to care about me. So, let me start from the beginning. Because the full story makes what happened so much worse. My name is Lena. I'm 28 years old, and the house in question is mine. Not rented under someone else's name, not my parents' house, not a shared property, mine. I saved for years to buy it. I worked overtime shifts, skipped vacations, and sacrificed pretty much every social event for almost half a decade. So, when I finally bought it, a cozy two-story place with a warm kitchen and a big backyard, it meant the world to me. It wasn't just a house. It was the first thing in my life I owned completely. The first thing that made me feel like I had built something real. And ironically, that's exactly why my family started treating it like it belonged to them too. My younger sister, Maya, has always had this habit of assuming everything is community property. If I bought snacks, she ate them. If I bought new clothes, she'd borrow them until they disappeared. If I made plans, she'd invite herself along. She's 2 years younger than me. But somehow she acts like she's the older one, and everyone else is here to serve her. My mother, bless her heart, never really corrected this behavior. Instead, she enabled it, always saying things like, "That's just how siblings are." Or, "She's your sister, share with her." My older brother, Jacob, on the other hand, is the type who shows up only when there's food involved, or when he needs to vent about his life. He's not cruel, but he's careless. And then there's my mother, who loves family gatherings more than anything, and has this fantasy that all of us will always stay close, always celebrate together, always show up for each other. A beautiful idea until it starts stepping on boundaries. So, Let's talk about what happened before the infamous party. 2 months earlier, I had told them, very clearly, that I wasn't hosting Thanksgiving that year. I had hosted for the past 2 years, paid for everything, cooked everything, cleaned everything, and handled all the leftovers until I was sick of turkey for a week. And honestly, with my job becoming more demanding and my energy running low, I just wanted a quiet holiday. I even said I might book a cabin out of town or spend the day alone watching movies. My mother acted like this was a felony. But family should be together, she said. How can you even think about leaving us on Thanksgiving? I reminded her that I wasn't abandoning them. I was just refusing to host. They could go to Jacob's apartment or maybe to Maya's place. Neither option happened. Jacob's apartment is too small, and Maya never hosts because she's too tired from work, even though she works fewer hours than I do. Classic. Weeks passed, and no one brought it up again, so I assumed they had made other plans. Meanwhile, I made mine. I told my boss I'd take Thanksgiving Day for myself. I planned a whole solo mini vacation. I bought snacks, movies, warm pajamas, and bubble bath supplies. I even booked a hotel for one night just so I could decompress before the holiday rush. I left my house spotless before I left, because I love coming home to a clean place, and headed off feeling excited in a quiet, peaceful way. My phone barely rang while I was away. No updates, no emergencies, nothing. It was suspiciously calm. Normally Maya would call me just to ask something like, "Where's your charger?" or "Can I borrow your jacket?" But I didn't hear a word from her. I didn't think much about it at first, but looking back, that silence was my first sign that something weird was happening. I came home late afternoon on Thanksgiving Day. I was tired, happy, relaxed. But the moment I entered my neighborhood, I noticed more cars parked along my street than usual. I parked my car, thinking maybe someone nearby was hosting a gathering, which made sense since it was Thanksgiving. But as I walked up to my house, I saw something that froze me in my tracks. Several cars I recognized, my mom's car, Jacob's truck, and Maya's ridiculous little bright yellow hatchback, were all parked right in front of my house. At first, I laughed a little because I genuinely thought I was mistaken. I thought, maybe they stopped by to surprise me. Maybe they're dropping something off. Maybe they're waiting for me to get home. But no. When I got closer, I saw lights on through the windows. I heard music. And then I heard voices, laughing voices, clinking dishes, chairs scraping. My family was inside my house, having a Thanksgiving party, without me. I stood there on my own front porch, listening to them laugh inside my home. For a moment, I genuinely wondered if I was dreaming or hallucinating. I pulled out my keys slowly, still trying to process what I was hearing. I opened the door. The smell hit me first: turkey, mashed potatoes, pies, the works. The living room was glowing with warm light. There were people everywhere. My cousins, my aunt, neighbors I didn't even like, kids running around, a whole event, a whole freaking Thanksgiving feast in MYSUS. Maya was in my kitchen, wearing one of my aprons, holding a glass of wine like she owned the place. The moment she saw me, she paused mid-sentence, blinked, and then just said, "Oh, you're back early. Back early. Best car alive." I didn't even know I was gone on HER schedule. My mom walked over with a big smile, like she was greeting a guest. "Sweetheart, we didn't think you'd mind. Since you weren't hosting this year, we figured we'd save money and space by using your house." "You weren't using it anyway." I swear, something inside me snapped. I looked around and saw dishes I didn't authorize, decorations I never owned, people I never invited, and a level of chaos that made my stomach twist. Kids were jumping on my couch. Someone had spilled juice on the rug. People were going in and out of my fridge like it was a public kitchen. My dining table was pushed to the side to make room for extra chairs. I saw pots and pans in the sink piled high. My oven was greasy. My floors were dirty. And then, the worst part, I saw that they had taken food from MY pantry, MY freezer, MY fridge. Expensive stuff. Ingredients I had bought for my own little weekend plans. They used EVRYTHING. Jacob walked up and slapped my shoulder like nothing was wrong. "Hey, sis! Grab a plate. There's a ton of food." I stared at him like he was insane. "Why are you all here? Why didn't you ask me? Why didn't you tell me?" Maya rolled her eyes. "Don't be dramatic. You weren't even going to be home. We figured it didn't matter. The house was empty, so why let it go to wasty?" Go to waste. My home, my property, my sanctuary, my safe space, a place I paid for with years of my life. I couldn't even form words for a few seconds. I felt so embarrassed standing there while a bunch of relatives stared at me like I was the rude one for interrupting. THEIR party in MY house. My mother gently tried to usher me toward the kitchen like I should relax. "Come on, sweetheart, sit down. Eat. Everyone's had such a lovely time. Everyone except ME." I went upstairs pretending I needed a minute. But really, I went to see how badly they had invaded the rest of my home. And guess what? People had gone into my room. Guests had placed their coats on my bed. Someone had put a purse on my dresser. Kids had been playing with trinkets on my vanity. My private space had been violated completely without permission. When I went back downstairs, I didn't yell. I didn't scream. I didn't cause a scene. I just quietly started taking everything in, every detail, every disrespect, every careless decision they made, as if my feelings didn't matter at all. And that's when I made a decision of my own. A calm, calculated, cold decision. I wasn't going to let this slide. I wasn't going to forgive it. And I definitely wasn't going to pretend everything was fine for the sake of family harmony. if they thought using my house like a free Airbnb was okay. Then they were about to learn exactly how wrong they were. I walked back into the kitchen, and Maya was drinking more wine. She glanced at me and said, "Seriously, Lena, you're killing the vibe. Just relax. It's one night. One night. One night of violating my boundaries. One night of disrespect. One night of using my house like a community center. One night of making me feel like a stranger in my own home." I just smiled at her. A very calm, unsettling smile. She didn't notice. But my mother did. She looked uncomfortable for the first time that night. "Honey, please don't be upset," she whispered. "We didn't want to bother you." I didn't reply. I didn't argue. I didn't explain anything. Because the anger inside me was so cold, so deep, that anything I said in that moment would have exploded out of me like a grenade. Instead, I excused myself, walked into the backyard to breathe, and started thinking. That was the exact moment the plan formed in my mind. The plan that would teach them never, EVER, to disrespect me like this again. And here's where I want to ask you, the audience, the people listening to this. So that's the situation I was in. My house, used behind my back. Trashed without permission. My boundaries ignored, my belongings handled like junk. Before I tell you what I did next, before I explain the revenge that changed everything, I want you to pause for a second and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. Would you confront them? Kick them out? Stay quiet? Call the cops? Or go for something more creative? Because what I did next shocked every single person in that house. And as much as part of me regrets the chaos that followed, another part of me knows I had every right to do it. When I stood in the backyard taking slow breaths, the sounds from inside my own house felt unreal, like I was listening to a reality that didn't include me at all. Laughter, clinking glasses, someone shouting about the turkey being too dry, kids yelling over a football game replay. It was a Thanksgiving celebration, but not mine. It was my home, but I wasn't part of the picture. I felt like I was watching strangers parade through my life with no respect, no boundaries, no awareness of how deeply they were hurting me. And yet, the cold anger in me had crystallized into something sharper, calmer, and far more dangerous. I didn't want to scream. I didn't want to lash out. I wanted to make sure they understood exactly what they had done. And I wanted them to regret it so deeply that they would never, ever disrespect me like this again. The plan formed so naturally it scared even me. It wasn't impulsive. It wasn't emotional. It was quiet, calculated, and brutally reasonable. I turned around, walked back into the house, and nobody even noticed. They were too busy laughing and eating and enjoying a party I had never agreed to host. I walked past Jacob, who was piling his plate with food for the third time. Past Maya, who had already spilled wine on my counter. others my mother, who was giving someone a kitchen tour, like she owned the place. I went straight upstairs to my bedroom, locked the door behind me, and pulled out my laptop. I opened my home security app and started reviewing the footage. My cameras captured everything. The moment my mother walked up with groceries, the moment Maya unlocked my door, using the spare key I had stupidly given her months before, for emergencies. The moment Jacob arrived with folding chairs, the moment my aunt showed up with pies. All of it, they had entered my home without asking, without permission, without notifying me. I took screenshots. I recorded clips. I saved everything. Then I opened my phone and checked the thermostat logs. They had adjusted the temperature, messed with my settings, opened the smart lock multiple times, and even disconnected one of the cameras, probably because Maya thought she was being clever. I screenshotted it all. Evidence wasn't necessary for what I was planning, but it felt good to gather it anyway. Then came the coldest part of my plan. I picked up my phone and called my home insurance emergency line. I explained to them that I had returned home to find unauthorized people occupying my house, and that I wasn't aware of who was inside or what they were doing. Technically, that wasn't a lie. My insurance agent told me that as the homeowner, I was absolutely allowed to call for assistance and, if I felt unsafe, to request police presence to assess the situation. My heart pounded, not with fear, but with a dark satisfaction. I wasn't calling the police to arrest anyone. I just wanted the shock value, the jolt of reality. The interruption that would slam into their little party like a sledgehammer. But I wasn't done. I also contacted a local cleaning company I had used before, 24-hour emergency services, and booked a deep cleaning appointment for midnight. Why? Because I wanted everyone out of my house by then. No excuses. No pleading. No negotiations. When I walked back downstairs, the shift inside me must have been visible because my mother's smile faded immediately. "Honey, are you okay?" she asked. Her voice trembled slightly, like she sensed something was brewing. I nodded with a calmness that made even Maya look uneasy. "I'm fine," I said quietly. "But everyone needs to leave in 40 minutes. The room went silent. Dead silent. All the chatter, all the laughter, all the forks scraping on plates, everything stopped. Maya scoffed. "You're joking, right?" Jacob frowned. "Come on, Lena. Don't make it weird." My aunt muttered, "It's Thanksgiving, sweetheart." I spoke clearly, evenly. "You all need to leave. Now. This house is mine, and none of you had permission to be here. Finish your food, pack your things, gather your kids, and leave. I'm not playing around." My mother stepped closer, lowering her voice like she was talking to a child having a tantrum. "Sweetie, don't do this. Everyone is having such a nice time. Can't we talk about this tomorrow?" I looked her dead in the eyes. "No, we talk now. because tomorrow I might have calmed down. Right now, I'm telling you the truth. All of you crossed a line. You used my house like a rental hall without even asking me. I'm done pretending it's fine. My mother opened her mouth to argue again, but then she heard the sirens. Yes. The police arrived sooner than expected. 2 officers knocked on the door. The pounding echoed through the hall. The blood drained from my mother's face. Maya's wine glass slipped slightly in her hand. Jacob looked like someone had hit pause on him. Did you call the police? My mother whispered, horrified. I shrugged. I told them I came home to find a house full of people I wasn't expecting, which is the truth. The officers stepped inside, their tone polite but firm. Mom, are you the homeowner? Yes, I said, handing them my ID. They nodded and quickly assessed the scene. One officer asked, Can you confirm you invited these people? No, I said simply. I did not. The effect was instant. Panic rippled through the room. People scrambled to gather their things. My relatives began whispering frantically, trying to avoid eye contact with the officers. My aunt started apologizing to me repeatedly. Jacob walked over flustered. Lena, come on! You didn't have to go nuclear. I looked at him coolly. Actually, I did. Maya, however, was furious. This is insane! You're humiliating us in front of everyone! You humiliated yourselves, I replied. You broke into my home, threw a party without my permission, and acted like I didn't matter. You don't get to complain now. The officers didn't touch anyone, didn't threaten anyone. They simply supervised as people shuffled out. Within 20 minutes, a party that had taken hours to set up dissolved into a pathetic, chaotic retreat. My mother left last. She approached me slowly, tears in her eyes. I'm disappointed in you, she whispered. This wasn't necessary. I blinked at her. I told you I wasn't hosting. You ignored me. I told you to leave. You argued. I'm done being the doormat. If that disappoints you, that's your problem. She stared at me like she didn't recognize me. Then she walked out slowly, defeated. I closed the door behind her and locked it. For the first time that day, silence filled my house. A painful, heavy silence, but also a liberating one. I walked through every room, taking in the mess they had left behind. Grace on the countertops, a spill on the rug, dirty plates in the sink. My fridge half empty, decorations taped to my walls, chairs everywhere. But the cleaning crew I had called earlier arrived right on time. 3 workers stepped inside, greeted me politely, and started deep, cleaning everything from the floors to the oven. I paid extra for a complete reset. Cleaning, like the house was moving into a new phase. While they cleaned, I took pictures of everything, the mess, the stains, the state of the floors. Then I sat at the dining table with my laptop again. This time, I wrote an invoice. Yes, an invoice. I itemized every single thing my family used, ruined, consumed, or occupied, food cost, cleaning cost, appliance strain cost, utility cost, furniture damage cost, unauthorized occupancy fee, emotional distress. I skipped that one. I wasn't petty, at least not in that specific way. The total bill came out shockingly high. I emailed it to every single person who attended the party. And then I wrote one final message. Going forward, no one is allowed in my home without explicit permission. Spare keys will be collected tomorrow. Any violation will be reported. This is not negotiable. Then I went to bed. The next morning was chaos. My phone nearly exploded with messages. My mother sent paragraphs of guilt, tripping texts. Maya sent voice notes, screaming at me about being heartless. Jacob sent a long text, saying I went too far, but also admitting they should have asked first. My aunt apologized sincerely and even offered to help pay the cleaning fee. Other relatives were split, some angry, some understanding, some shocked that I actually had the nerve to set a boundary. And then came the moment I had been waiting for. Maya showed up that afternoon demanding her spare key back. She banged on my door like she owned the place. I opened it, held out my hand, and said, "My key." She slapped a key into my palm and crossed her arms. "I can't believe you're doing this over one party." I stared at her. It wasn't the party. It was the disrespect. She rolled her eyes. "You know what? Don't expect us at Christmas. Or ever again if you keep acting like this." I smiled calmly. "That's fine. I'll be having a peaceful holiday." She stormed off, furious. My mother came later too. Her visit was sadder. "You didn't have to call the police," she said, quietly, standing on my porch like she was standing on a stranger's doorstep. "You made everyone feel unwelcome." A hollow laugh escaped me. "Mom, they were unwelcome. They weren't invited." She shook her head. "Family shouldn't need an invitation. Family should respect boundaries," I replied. And mine didn't. She didn't argue after that. She just nodded slowly, handed me her spare key, and whispered, "I hope you don't regret this." I didn't. Not for a second. Over the next few days, the storm eventually calmed. Some relatives reached out again, apologizing sincerely and acknowledging the wrong. Those people I forgave. Those who kept blaming me, I cut off gently but firmly. And for the first time in years, I felt like my home was truly mine again. No guilt, no intrusion, no expectation to sacrifice myself for others. I spent Christmas alone by choice, wrapped in a blanket, sipping hot chocolate, with peaceful silence filling my home. And honestly, it was the best holiday I'd had in years. Looking back, I don't regret calling the police. I don't regret kicking them out. I don't regret the invoice. I don't regret setting boundaries. I regret one thing, only not doing it sooner. So if you've listened to this entire story, tell me, was I wrong? Or did my family need to learn a lesson they'd been avoiding for years? Because sometimes The only way to teach people to respect you is to stop letting them disrespect you. Like this video if you were on my side. Subscribe for more stories like this. And share your final thoughts in the comments. I'm curious what you think about this whole mess. I'll see you all in the next story.